Okay, I'm muting.
All right. I'm sorry, guys. Not only did I have an extended difficulty with my frickin' internet, but then my exclusively indoor cat Mia decided to dart out. Luckily, she what the fuck? Anyways, she not only did she dart out, luckily she darted right back into the garage, so uh, crisis was averted. But it was touch and go for a few minutes.
Oh, here I thought maybe she'd like vomited all over your pillow or something.
No, no. She hadn't done anything bad. Well, she did something very, very bad, but then she just went to the garage, so that was okay.
Okay. All right. As long as
Luckily, Jonathan didn't hear that exchange because I probably would never hear the end of it.
okay.
Mia's like, yeah, she's like tiny, so she's basically a wolf snack, and there are wolves here. Like,
Oh
I
yeah. No, and it's like owning a small dog in Port McNeill, BC, right? You don't leave them out in the yard for too long because the eagles will eventually spot them and come down, swoop down and just grab them, right? It's not just bears, it's not just cougars, it's not just wolves, it's the eagles. It's like it came from the sky and carried your dog away.
Yeah, yeah. So Mia's like maybe she's maybe 3 pounds of cat. So, and we have eagles here, we have wolves, we have coyotes, we have damn, a fox could probably get her. So she's exclusively an indoor cat because of her size. I mean, we have another black cat who's like 18 fucking pounds, and he like moves around like a freaking bulldog. But yeah, he can handle himself. Does that sound sexist?
Well, no, it's not sexist. He's 18 fucking pounds. He's like 9 times or 6 times bigger than her, right? So, he's
All right.
he's
Yeah.
giant. He's a fucking giant. Okay, so
Now, do you want me to start the intro, even though it's sort of mute at this point?
no, let's just leave it. I'm gonna share my screen and we're just gonna get on with this fucking Rutgers University student. Now let's read the low bar because
Okay.
because usually we don't do that, and I want to do that. One of the protesters who has been called a crazy feminist by conservative media. You hear that, Alison? We're conservative media.
Oh yeah, really conservative.
And whom has received rape and death threats since speaking out against Milo, like, because he hasn't received anything like that, or like a dead animal in the mail, or a syringe full of some mysterious substance, through his mail slot. He doesn't have to deal with any of that kind of stuff. She tells her side of the story from hashtag Reclaim Revolution, right? And this is one of the women, I'm guessing, who smeared fake blood all over her face at the start of Milo's talk at Rutgers.
Talk? Did he ever get to talk? Because I only heard about like
I
two or
think
three.
I think he did get to give his speech. Essentially, they had a couple of outbursts, I think. The first one was the blood one, and everything just went on hold until they were escorted out by security. And then I think there was another one, and then they were escorted out, and then everything just went off as planned. So,
Yeah, well, I just saw in the chat, elitist Canadians. Yeah, we can be pretty passive aggressive.
what, elitist?
Yeah, well, you're not an elitist. No, he's talking about another channel. I just noticed the word Canadian because I am Canadian. So
Oh, okay. All
yeah.
right.
But anyway, let's yeah,
I'm not Burton. Like, we're just a bunch of freaking hicks here. So
yeah, well, pretty much Saskatchewan is even what's lower than Hick.
yeah, I don't like Cletus.
Yeah, we're a bunch of Cletuses here.
So yeah.
Yeah, so we're like the Canadians with the least amount of fucking Torontonian attitude.
Yeah, we should have Southern accents.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it really Canada's okay in the middle. It's the sides that sort of, well, I guess BC.
Oh, it's the same. It's the same thing in the States. It's like California, Oregon, Washington, right? And then it's New York State and Massachusetts, and like it's the eastern and western seaboards in the US that are like totally progressive. And frankly, I think that like places like Seattle is supposed to be like even worse than San Francisco as far as the hotbed of SJWism. And I think that that actually has to do with the amount of cloud cover and rain. Like everybody there just probably has seasonal affective disorder and they just don't know how to cope. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, the other thing is that I think this was the protest that, the feminist protest got protest bombed by the Black Lives Matter protest. Oh God, you guys got to coordinate a little
the
bit better.
feminists started like smearing blood all over their faces, and then like the Black Lives Matter protesters started yelling and screaming, and then all of the young, I'm guessing conservative-ish, young Republicans who went there to see Milo speak started chanting Trump, 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 right? And it was just glorious chaos for a few minutes there.
Oh my.
Yeah, and I just wouldn't have wanted to be the janitor who had to clean all that up. So.
Oh yeah, it always is. That when I was in, because I was in student government a long time ago, I would constantly be like students would talk about their concerns about rising tuition prices, and then I would go into like lecture halls after those filthy pigs had been in there.
Yeah.
And there would be so much garbage, and the janitors would be picking it up, and I'd be like, dude. And I actually went to a student conference. I won't say the exact name of the people who put it on, but it was basically the Canadian Feminist Stasi organization. And they would trash hotel rooms. Like
Yep.
they would treat this conference like an opportunity to get drunk, have fucking orgies, smoke dope, and trash hotel rooms.
Yeah.
To the point where the hotel would be like, please do not come back.
Yeah.
And these were our student fucking leaders. It was sickening. I fucking hate students. If you're a student, I fucking hate you.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, like, not all students are like that. I was never like that. I went on trips with my school, and I never jumped across balconies to go and, like, freaking party with the boys after curfew or anything like that. When we went on band trips and stuff like that. Like, no, it's just, but there were lots of students who just were like complete fucking retards. They have no consideration whatsoever for the people who are left to clean up their mess. I mean, actually there was this one video, I should find it. Maybe we can link it in the low bar. It was a guy who essentially just did this brilliant takedown of Occupy Wall Street, naming all of the evil corporations that these kids rely on to do their, protest, social event, right? And that maybe they should just stop complaining and just go out and get a job and try and work. And, if you don't like Apple, don't buy an iPhone. If you think they're an evil corporation, right, don't buy it, right? Why are you bringing camp gear from like freaking this company and wearing sandals from J. Crew and all this brand name shit if you think corporations are evil? And then you're wearing, and then on top of that, I've seen what the place looks like after you guys have been there. So on top of all this other shit, you're all a bunch of fucking litter bugs.
Well, to answer the evildoers question in chat, that was just hyperbole. I don't actually, the students that, for example, mature students tend to be a lot better.
Yeah, no, but there is this sort of idea that like you can just go anywhere and make any kind of mess and then just walk away, right? Because your cause is righteous, you're freaking, and it's not the conservative students of Rutgers or whatever, the young Republicans of Rutgers, right, who had to clean all of that up. It was some fucking probably Hispanic or Black man supporting his family by cleaning toilets and mopping up floors who had to clean that up.
Well, I've had some bad experiences with students and being extremely piggish at the same time as feeling entitled.
Yeah.
You'd think if you want like less expensive tuition, you wouldn't require this kind of expensive maid service and actually do shit yourself. But no, that's not ever a consideration.
Yeah.
And also, I really have an issue. With people trashing hotels and other people's houses. I don't know. This is like a trigger point for me.
Yep.
Like if somebody is offering you use of their property, you respect it.
Oh yeah.
Like that like I can't fucking stand that.
You know, it's one thing to leave a dirty coffee cup in the sink, right, in the kitchen. It's another to just like freaking like leave a gigantic mess everywhere, and you know, and then just like, yeah, I'm packing up and leaving now, right? And thanks for letting me freaking sleep in your spare room, right? Like what the fuck is that? It's very very frustrating, and there's lots of people like that. So anyhow,
yeah, there is. Yeah, let's get started. We can't rant about students all day.
we haven't even started. It's like the real story. The real story. Hate speech at Rutgers University. And
Expand that sucker, Karen.
I did. It's
okay.
It's full screen. It's in its separate window and it's full screen.
Fictions within Milo's speech in and of itself. So, for example, when Milo is talking about how there's no rape epidemic on campus, that rape essentially doesn't exist.
That is like complete fucking bullshit. He never said rape doesn't exist. He said there is no rape epidemic and that rape culture is not real. That a culture that supports, endorses, normalizes, and rewards the rape of women is not the culture we're living in, specifically not on campuses. That women on campus are in the same age group, are at less risk of being raped than women who actually have to fucking work for a living, right? That there is no fucking rape epidemic. That doesn't mean that rape doesn't happen. It just means that there's no fucking epidemic and there's no culture that supports it.
No, it's statistical fact. You are, as a white woman on a college campus, probably not going to get raped, ever.
You're the safest among your same age peers.
Yeah.
Out of any group in America.
And why are you sucking up? I mean, I know that feminists don't give a shit about male victims, who may be just as numerous on college campus as female victims. I know you don't give a shit about them, but you're also sucking up concern, energy, resources from women, for example, the same age in marginal communities, in urban spaces. You know, you're sucking resources out of those minority and poor women who actually are more likely to be raped than your wealthy white personage.
Yeah.
You're sucking resources away and attention away from them.
Yep.
To yourself.
Yeah, I know, but those poor freaking Black and Hispanic women living in the inner city, they should be able to fund their own rape crisis center, don't you know?
Yeah, don't you know? Oh, yes. All of the people who, you know what's really interesting about rape as an issue is that there is a definite hierarchy when it comes to rape. And this particular individual is on the top. Like she has, dare I say the word privilege, because she is a reasonably attractive, well-coiffed,
young white woman,
wealthy white woman. She is on the top. And incidentally, focusing on college campuses will ensure that you filter out most of the undesirable victims of rape to focus on women like herself.
Mm-hmm.
And she is on the top because all of society really, really cares because of, I think racist reasons, also classist reasons. They really care when she gets, even alleges that she was raped. Whereas we don't care as much when it's Black women or Hispanic women or poor women or transsexual women. We don't care. And we certainly don't care when it's men, because they're progressively getting lower and lower on the hierarchy of worthy rape victims.
Yeah.
So yes, as a worthy potential victim of rape, not only you get more attention,
who is
not only
you're gonna suck all the oxygen out of the room when it comes to talking about rape victims.
Yeah, even though you're the least likely to be raped, and if you are raped, the most likely to be believed and the most likely to get services compared to any other group of rapists, including men, or rape victims, including men. And in fact, you are so likely to be believed that if you rape anyone, if you, whatever your name is, rape anyone, if you actually rape someone, because you got sort of a rapey eye there, if you ever actually do that, you are more likely to be seen as the rape victim than the rapist. It's like fucking believable. Like a woman says, some guy passes out drunk. I mounted him, and then I regretted it the next day, and he's facing rape charges.
Yep.
Fucking okay.
All right. Banana.
On college campuses, and obviously he's using entirely false facts, and yet
from the Bureau of Justice Statistics, yeah.
At the same time, we have a Rutgers administration who paints itself as very much concerned with the rape epidemic on campuses.
The rape epidemic that doesn't exist. See, here's the thing. Here's the whole problem with presuppositionalism, is that you presuppose that a specific axiom is true. And then everything else, every argument, every bit of your worldview, every attitude you hold, every opinion, every belief, right, follows from that presupposition. You have a presupposition that there is a rape culture that we live in the West that has generated a rape epidemic on campus. And you will even, I have read definitions of rape culture, and one of the definitions of rape, one of the signs that we're living in a rape culture is when anybody denies the prevalence of widespread rape, right? So anybody who actually says, oh yeah, actually rape doesn't happen that often, right? That's proof that we live in a society that condones rape. Automatically, it's proof of rape culture.
Kafka trap.
Yeah. Like, so, and it's all based on this, and then they just, I hate to draw the parallel because, creationists actually have to work a lot harder, right, to defend their point of view. They actually have to really come up with some amazing freaking mental gymnastics to defend their point of view, right? Young Earth creationists. But these guys, they don't have to come up with mental gymnastics. They just take the presupposition, rape is rampant because the culture condones it, right? And they don't ever feel like they have to fit that presupposition into some weird data point, the way I've seen a creationist try to explain how kangaroos made it to Australia from Noah's flood, right? Like they don't feel like they have to go into this, no, it's just the presupposition is fact. Anything else is just, it's false facts. All of it. Facts.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, well, with this rape culture issue, well, yeah, and any fact that it doesn't fit in, and the reason why that is so is because we have this perception, this eternal perception, just it's like the background radiation of our lives in every single society around the world. Every single one has this background radiation. It's like the what is that? The universal, like the fuck, I'm losing my physics. Probably now is not the best time.
The residual radio waves from the Big Bang.
Yeah, it's just there. It just exists in the background, and that residual force, that like 0 point energy, is that somehow our women are always under threat of being raped by some guy, some man. Someone. Either those men over there or our men over here, just some man out. Every single woman is always under threat of rape. And this is like this invisible fabric that we just live in. We don't even notice it because we're breathing it constantly. Every human being has it in their fucking head. It's like the woof and weave of our synapses. Oh yes, the women are always under threat of rape. So we believe this shit in defiance of facts. And when anybody questions it, suddenly they're a misogynist or an apologist of some sort.
Or a denialist.
When actually the problem really is that we all have this underlying assumption of female victimhood, particularly in regards to sexuality. Mm-hmm. We just believe somehow, somewhere, the very fabric, embedded in the very fabric of reality is the threat of women being raped. Period. It's just given. And these are the moments when we need to step back and say, hey, no, we have an inclination to just see women's sexual vulnerability. In fact, we have way too much of an inclination to see women's sexual vulnerability. We have way too much of a bias towards seeing women as sexually vulnerable. Maybe we need to compensate with that by being strictly logical and rational and looking at the evidence.
Ah.
Nah. Let's just beat people over the head with the word rape apologist if they disagree.
Yeah.
If they disagree.
Or if they just hold up a statistic and go, like, how does this fit in? Like, because this actually seems kind of legitimate to me. Can you just explain? Right? Rape apology!
Yeah. It's just, it's and the reason why it works is because everybody around the world, every single person does not want women to be raped.
Yeah.
Except for those men who actually rape, and women who rape, and
yeah.
women. Yeah, so it's like, and those people, they're just fucked up people.
Well, and
like,
they don't want like other people to rape women. They want to do it themselves. It's like, it's not like they're like, oh yeah, I want to support a culture that like where everybody's raping everyone. No, I don't think that even rapists are supporting some culture where they're like condoning the rapes of women by other people. They're just condoning their own.
Yeah. Also, I want to say hi, Bering.
Hi, Bering.
You could have been on this.
What?
I invited him on a Rantzerker, but he was like, no, I think I'll try ragening instead.
Oh, well, you can come on if you want, but we're kind of, I don't know. Every time we have Teal Deer on, he's very quiet. Yeah.
Well, he's not that quiet, but
he's coming out of his shell more, but I think he just, like, initially he was just like, I don't know where to stick my foot in the, like, how do I even get a word in edge? And you just have to push your way in.
Yeah, you got to sharpen your elbows to get in with Karen. Yeah, you got to have really sharp elbows, and you also have to learn to have selective hearing. So when she starts going, you just have to power through.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Okay, banana.
All right. Banana.
Sexual violence on college campuses is an epidemic.
No, it's not.
Rutgers is leading the nation in the revolution to end campus sexual violence.
Do you like actually, are you picturing somebody standing just off camera with a gun to this guy's head?
Nah, I just think he's uncomfortable in front of a camera or some shit. But yeah, that is a funny image.
like
say this stuff or die.
Somebody got a hood over their face, right? Like with a balaclava, and they got a gun, and and like maybe a flag with some kind of like weird feminist symbols on it. Yeah.
By insisting that we talk about sexual violence, and by making sure we listen when our students speak about what they experience here.
Did you see that?
Well, I was actually looking at the chat for Bering.
Oh, look at that. Look, he just looks to the side. Just for that 1 second.
What they experience.
Okay, wait. Let me see.
And speak about what they experience here.
Oh, yeah, I see that. It's a little bit shifty there.
Yeah, I think he's looking at the gun. But no, I just, it's important that, people talk about it. Like, what else is anybody fucking talking about on campus right now? Right? Is anybody, like, other than, I guess, Black Lives Matter, right? And swastikas on fucking dorm room ceilings, right? Like, somehow, and the police somehow saying, oh, somebody was in your dorm room. They broke into your dorm room and put a swastika on your ceiling. That's not our business, because it's not our business to deal with like break and enters and like, yeah, no, it's what are we all talking about here? We're talking about victimization of blacks, victimization of minorities, victimization of women. That's all we're fucking talking about on American campuses these days. That's it. That's the whole conversation, right? Like, we need to ensure that we are talking about it. No, you are fucking talking about it constantly. Ugh.
Yeah. Like, you can't really get away from that. You guys are fucking talking about it. Like, it's in fact, it's not even, when we're not talking about it, we still have that like I was talking about, that substrate that we exist within, that is always eternally worried that someone somewhere is raping the women's.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, all right.
We're committed to creating a community that's safe and supportive for every student, staff, and faculty.
Except anyone who disagrees with you.
Well, yeah, because if somebody disagrees, then obviously they're a bad person and they need to like be punished, right?
Yeah, let's continue.
Last semester we had a viewing of The Hunting Ground that was very much promoted. Felicia McGinty, the Vice Chancellor.
Oh, The Hunting Ground. You mean
Oh God, The Hunting
documentary that used like Emma Solkowitz is one of the examples, and then the Jameis Winston case is one of the examples where he's been cleared how many times? Like it's a gigantic fucking propaganda piece, right? That just and used it was essentially like the movie version of Rolling Stones, A Rape on Campus, Jackie at UVA. It was like one big huge freaking piece of propaganda using cases that some of these cases are still being litigated, not in terms of the woman litigating against the accused rapist, but in terms of the accused rapist litigating against the schools.
Yeah. Oh fuck. And she's already started.
Just cut and dried, like absolutely 100%. These guys are they absolutely happened. Guys are 100% guilty. Women are 100% victims. We're not going to reach out to any, and as far as I know, they were in post-production before they actually, the Hunting Ground, they were in post-production before they actually reached out to any of the schools or any of the men who they were accusing in their movie for comment.
All right.
They were done shooting.
Okay, so this individual has that vacant, dumbass look on her face that she's been sucking the feminist tailpipe, sucking all their carbon monoxide up and losing brain cells as it goes. I guess she enjoys that role, that straight jacket of victimhood. It just feels warm and comforting. It's like,
I don't know. I just never understood what was appealing.
Yeah, no, I never understood what was appealing about seeing yourself solely in terms of what other people, how other people act on. I mean, personally, my greatest concerns is failing people, not things that could potentially be done. I actually do not fear rape, as I am much, much, much more scared of failing to serve or do what I feel is my duty to society, to men, to my husband, to my friends, than I have ever feared anything done to me.
Yeah. No, it's the same when you have kids, right? Just or at least like since I had kids, like you no longer worry so much about what might happen to you, other than in how it will impact the people that you are responsible for. Right?
Yeah. But that's, I guess, an element of actually feeling like you have responsibility, which is an element of actually feeling like you have an effective presence in society and agency and the responsibility to use it properly for the betterment of other people, as opposed to just being a walking victim in waiting.
Yeah. All right.
I'll enjoy your fucking propaganda.
Yeah. Nice hoop earrings, too.
The students was there, but then at the same time, they're condoning someone like Milo coming and saying that rape absolutely doesn't exist.
I know. They're inviting like two different sides into the conversation. It's like the most amazing thing. It's called like a diversity of opinions. That, they screened The Hunting Ground and they allowed this huge propaganda piece, and and they had this screening, and then they also allowed Milo to come and give his side of the, his point of view about this whole thing. And oh my goodness, it's like there's actually a diversity of opinions, a free marketplace of ideas on a university campus. We can't have that.
Yeah, I just want to, at the risk of pissing everyone off, once again, I'm going to point out that is, for somebody who's saying that she's a victim, she's got a gotcha sort of look on her face at the moment. Like she's...
Oh, yeah, no, her eyes, they got that kind of narrowed...
Yeah, they narrowed and then her teeth went out. So she looks like this is more like a gotcha on Milo, rather than really being totally stricken by the situation and totally destroyed.
Oh, she's not afraid.
No, I don't feel like she's afraid at all. She's not really afraid. This is all using her an affectation of vulnerability as a gotcha, as a weapon. And once again, when you see expressions like this, and admittedly we're both female, me and Karen, so we're like we're maybe more keyed to reading people's expressions. And no, I'm not going to stop analyzing faces. The thing is that what she is portraying with what she's the expression is a particular mindset. Now, I could be wrong. Like, I could be wrong, have been wrong with every single one of these feminists who show the same "I got you" face, the same look of superiority.
I'm sticking it to you.
I'm sticking it to you face. I could be completely wrong at every single time that I've pointed out a feminist during, and most of them do. Most of them at some point in their video have an "I stick it to you" face, which doesn't make any sense considering the content of what they're talking about. You think that Jewish people, when they talk about the Holocaust, suddenly get an "I stick it to you" face? I mean, really? Do you think
and
Tutsis, when they talk about Holocaust, do you think they get an "I stick it to you" face? No, these are genuine victims. They're not using affectations of victimhood or vulnerability to stick it to someone, to silence someone.
Well, I think too, it's like if this was just something that was every once in a while, you pause the video on a facial expression that's like, oh my goodness. No, it's like it's frequent. It's frequent that we have this, we pause it and it's like, oh my God, Emma Watson's gonna jump out from behind her podium and rip the ambassador.
Show someone her pencil trick.
Yeah. She's just gonna rip somebody's throat out with her teeth, right?
Yeah, it's like it's so and like I said, this is random, and it's a little bit subtle on her, but you can see that she's got her teeth moved forward and her eyes are narrowed. She looks at and like I said, if she's talking about a situation where she's a victim, this is not how victims talk about situations where they're a victim.
It actually looks like a cat who's actually stalking a bird right now, like the way her eyes are. It's not a hostile, like it's not a mean expression. It's just a zeroing in on some kind of something.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's a gotcha moment. And you know what? Gotcha moments are fine. It doesn't make her evil to have a gotcha moment. The problem is the context of the gotcha moment.
Yeah, she's saying that like she's scared and and oh my goodness and victims and oh my God and yeah. Anyhow, moving on.
Okay.
When you have a situation in the United States where 1 in 4 women will get sexually assaulted throughout their time in college.
Well, but the thing is that you use the same criteria and it's like 1 in 2 men.
Yeah. Well, 1 in 2 to 1 in 3. Yeah.
Yeah. 1 in 2 to 1 in 3. Well, like 1 in 3 is very, very late. 1 in
43%.
1 in 2 and 1 in 2.5, really.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, 40 to 50% of college men will describe having been sexually assaulted. I don't know if it's an attempted or completed rape. Like
half of them, half of those men who reported that they were subjected to unwanted sexual experiences by the same criteria as feminists use to measure this for women. 43% said they were subjected to unwanted sexual experiences under those criteria, and half of those men, so about 20%,
20 to 25%,
reported completed rape, or completed sexual intercourse. That was the unwanted sexual experience, and 95% of that 43% of men who reported unwanted sexual experiences reported that the perpetrator was a female acquaintance. We don't even know if the other 5% were males or not, because a non-acquaintance female would fit into that category, into that 5%. We don't know, but we know that 95% of these men reported that the person who did this to them was a female acquaintance.
Yeah. So not only, according to recent statistics, which should be paid attention to because this is completely unexplored aspect of all of this, I mean, the results aren't like 100%, but it looks like men are equally likely to be experience forced sex or rape.
Equally likely to be experiencing the things that this 1/4 or 1/5 of women claim that they are experiencing on these surveys. So, like,
no, that, and actually, Denebin says that the source of the numbers are right there. No, they're not. Rutgers Office of Prevention and Victimhood, that's not a source. That's just an organization. A source would be an actual study.
yeah.
An actual study that had where these numbers came out of.
And the most recent study that's been done was the one that did a survey of 27 different universities across the United States, and they found that it was, I believe, 1 in 5, and but they had an 18 point something percent response rate. It was almost 19%. And
yeah, that's really low.
So about 80% of people who received the survey didn't bother responding. And then on top of that, if you look at, you look at number 1, there is a way to figure out, to compare the data in the survey with actual data in reality. And it is to take the number of women who claim that they were victims of, and these were the women who claimed that they were victims of completed forcible rape. So not drug rape, not drunk rape, not just freaking, a groping or whatever, but completed forcible rape, who said that they reported it to their school, right? That they reported it to the authorities, right? And then you compare that, you extrapolate all of that against the female population on campus in the United States and the number of sexual assaults, sexual misconduct complaints that are reportable under the Clery Act. These universities have to report sexual assaults under the Clery Act. Anything that's been reported to them, they have to report it under the Clery Act. So essentially what you have is a 9-fold difference, right? So according to this survey, there should be 9 times more reports as tabulated under the Clery Act than actually exist. And that's just the reports for forcible rape that derived from this survey, for forcible rape that were reported to the school, right? Versus all reports under the Clery Act of any kind of sexual misconduct. Okay? So you have that. So obviously the results are a little out of whack. And then on top of that, what do you have when women don't report in this study? What's the number one reason you all think that these women who chose not to report their sexual assault, why would you think that they would not report it, right? Oh, fear of not being believed, fear of being re-victimized, fear of retribution, right? No. Even with rape, even with stuff that was classified as rape, attempted or completed, 80% of these women who chose not to report said, it wasn't serious enough. It just wasn't a big deal. And the less severe the offense, the higher that percentage is, up to above 90%. Above 90% of the people who didn't report being groped thought it wasn't a big deal, right? So, and the whole idea of rape culture, right, is it's not just that, people taking sexual liberties without the consent of other people happens lots, and it's, and it's rampant and it's condoned. No, the whole point of rape culture, the whole point of this narrative is that the existence of the rape culture creates a culture where the emotional terrorization of women is commonplace and encouraged, right? So when you have 80% of women who have been determined to be victims of rape or attempted rape saying, it really didn't bother me that much, right? how are we living in a rape culture? Like, these are women who, like, the guy got a little pushy. She, like, told him to back the fuck off, and then he backed the fuck off, right? Like, that qualifies as an attempted rape. Somebody tried to have sex with you when you didn't want it, and they didn't succeed, right? These are not women who were fighting these men off, like, got like blood and hair and bits of the guy's skin under their fingernails and bruises all over their bodies from fighting it off. No, they just said no. Right? That's what attempted rape is now.
Unfortunately, yeah, we're dealing with a little bit of an echo issue, but yeah, it's pretty insane. But again, if we do the same thing, if we do the same numbers for men, if we give the same numbers to men, or we give the same questions to men, we find the same numbers. And nobody gives a shit about them. So it's like, on the one hand, yeah, you don't seem to really care about rape victims.
But nobody seems to claim, nobody's claiming that there's a culture of sexual terror and emotional terrorization against men, right, going on, right? Nobody's claiming that, right? A lot of these guys don't report it. A lot of them probably don't report it because they didn't think it was that big a deal, right? They didn't think it was that traumatic. Like, many of them probably did feel that way, but a lot of them probably don't. And, a lot of them probably were like, oh my God, she got a little fresh with me. And then I, like, managed to, like, freaking get out of the apartment and, Alice the Goon tried to bone me, right? A lot of these guys probably feel the exact same way as many of the women in this latest survey did, right? It just wasn't that big a deal. I handled it on my own. I rebuffed his advances, right? Or even in the case of completed sexual intercourse, you know what? I was actually kind of a participant in that, right? Like, I could have been more clear in my intentions, right? I could have actually said no. Maybe I didn't say no, right? Like, these women in this survey, they're not like Lena Dunham, who operates in the exact opposite direction, right? Where she's literally fucking dirty talking to a guy, right? Dirty talking to him to convince herself that she was actually consenting to the sex. So to convince herself that she was actually consenting, she led him to believe by every single external signal that you could possibly give, including, whispering filth into his ear, and begging, pound me harder, harder, right? Like, how is that guy supposed to be able to safely negotiate a sexual interaction if a woman who does that, who talks dirty to him, eggs him on, encourages him, demands that he fuck her harder, all of this shit, right? And then turns around the next day and says, oh, you know what? I think I was raped. Because, sexual interactions are fucking complex.
As is the mute button. I'm sorry, Karen. It's the echo's fucking up, and then Google gives this incredible lag when I mute. But I just wanted to say to everybody in the chat and everybody listening or watching this later, I have link dumped all of our statistics. So you can take a look at that. You can take a look at the statistics on the rate of sexual abuse of college and high school age men and boys. You can look at the stuff from the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey put on by the Center for Disease Control that found in the last 12 months, equal numbers of men and women report physically forced sex. So that would be sex that's either physically forced or forced because you are incapacitated due to alcohol. And so, yeah, you can take a look at that stuff. And it paints a very interesting picture, a picture in which women are not uniquely victims of sexual violence. In fact, sexual violence is, rather than a male problem, is a human problem. Of course, this is something that you will never see feminists talk about. And they talk about how, like bio-truthers like us, like me and Karen, who believe that there are differences between the sexes in aptitude and ability and perhaps different types of intelligence, that we want there to be differences. And yet when we point out that actually the behavior between men and women in terms of sex is not that different, that women are equally sexually predatory towards as men, then when we point out that similarity,
Yeah.
they suddenly become bio-truthers.
Yeah.
They suddenly start wanting those differences because they like those differences. Being able to say that men are uniquely rapey is a gotcha. It's a way that they can be morally superior to men.
Yeah, no, being able to say that men are uniquely monstrous and uniquely subhuman it comes with enormous power, particularly because of the fact that men have this difficulty being able to actually come together and defend against it. That they have a hard time forming a coalition of men to counteract the female coalition that's acting against men. It's sort of, on the one side, it's this massive juggernaut of feminist advocacy, and on the other side, for the most part, it's every man for himself, right? And
well, what I found is really simple. Feminists will embrace gender differences as long as it allows them to blame men. And they'll embrace gender similarities or the belief in gender similarity as long as it allows them to blame men. To make men responsible for the entirety of our society, our situation, women's actions, women's choices, as long as it allows them to ultimately put the agency on men, they will embrace both gender difference and gender similarity, often in complete opposition to one or the other. The only consistent logic behind it is that men are to blame and women are incapable. Like, women are just and the honest to God truth is, I understand that men may be tempted to really adopt this posture of super agency, like, basically, because it's flattering in a way to be the responsible for every single thing in society. Basically, according to feminist theory, men are responsible for gravity, the Big Bang, evolution, everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And that's, it must be a flattering position to be in, to be responsible for everything, to have control over everything. What surprises me is that there is a significant body of women who seem to enjoy the feeling or ability or agency over anything. They just seem to like to wallow in this puke warm piss of complete lack of anything. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I before I even had words to explain the feelings I got from being shoved into a position of not having any of my choices or actions recognized as legitimate, it made me deeply, deeply uncomfortable in a way that I couldn't even explain.
Yeah.
It was just like an intuitive discomfort every time a man or a woman would try to force this role on me. And yet these women just seem to fucking love it. Like, I don't understand how they can fucking love this shit.
Well, because they get power from it. Like, they actually do. It's a kind of power, and it's a very, very, I think it's a very it's a very tempting kind of power for a lot of women, because they do have that sort of aversion to the more overt forms of power, because overt forms of power come with risk, right? And the covert forms, the soft forms of power, those are all, you'll never get blamed, but you still have a say. You have a say, but you won't get blamed. You get to spend the money, but you don't have to pay the bill. That's essentially what it is.
Well, it's so degrading. In my mind, it's always, even on an intuitive level, an emotional level, I recognized it as degrading. This is degrading. To be forced into a role of eternal victim is degrading.
Yeah.
It's fucking degrading. I don't believe in objectification. I don't think it's physically possible for human beings to objectify through our sexuality. In fact, I think our theory of mind and our understanding of people's subjectivity is a result of our complex sexuality. So we sexually subjectify rather than sexually objectify. But what feminists do to women is objectification.
Yeah.
That's and on the individual level, This is not good for women.
No.
They are exploiting women. They are taking away things that will make women safer, healthier, happier, more accomplished, more confident.
Yeah.
They're taking away all of that so they can use them as fodder in their fucking narrative, in their politically useful narrative. And it's like, okay, if you're a woman and a feminist listening to this, why? I'm not even going to call you being deliberately stupid. Why do you let them do this to you?
Yeah.
I mean, why? Okay.
Okay. All right.
Not only contradictory but preposterous to even contend with a character who's coming and just throwing all of that out the window, denying all of that, and erasing all of those tremendously traumatic, problematic, and awful experiences that we very much have to deal with.
You yourself?
Probably not. No, okay, there. Finally, we've got a bit of a derp face. That's just like it's a solid, honest derp face.
Yeah, no, it's pretty derpy.
Yeah,
But, he's not throwing everything out the window. He's not saying rape never happens. He's saying you're exaggerating the problem. That's what he's saying. He's not throwing everything. He's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. He's just throwing the bathwater out, which is where it belongs, out the fucking off the front porch, right? So, like, how can you even begin to think that you can solve the problem if you are unable to look at it from all angles and think about all the different pieces of evidence and accept that it's a little bit more nuanced than, men rape and women are raped, and men are agents and women are objects, and women have no control over what happens to them, and all of this bullshit. Like, how do you think you're going to solve, if there is a problem, how do you think you're going to solve it if you're not willing to look at contrary evidence, if you're not willing to look at disconfirming evidence, if you're not willing to accept that somebody else has a different point of view and actually listen to it before you throw it out the window? You're throwing Milo out the window.
Well, she wants to be able to just wallow in her victimhood, which
Right.
I don't even know if it's personal. She's just assuming the victimhood of other people. I think as we, in a lot of ways, the male role, we can see the exploitation of the male role. Men sacrifice themselves in order to earn a place in the hierarchy, which ultimately puts only certain men at the very top. But women sacrifice something too. They sacrifice this kind of personal understanding of themselves, like almost like a self-actualization, and it has real world consequences. It's just more. It's a lot more difficult to explain or see. They sacrifice every day. They sacrifice their ability to do difficult subjects academically. They sacrifice their ability to work hard hours, long hours. They sacrifice their ability to understand and respect their own ability to act in circumstances, which will make them more vulnerable to criminals. And they sacrifice all of this to become handmaidens to feminism, handmaidens to the current narrative of women's weakness and vulnerability, which ultimately only benefits women at the top, like Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn and all of them.
One of the things I found most interesting, I forget who it was, whether it was like Kirsten Gillibrand or whatever, but she was saying that, when she was first starting out in politics, she said something about, she went in to talk to a senator or a judge or whatever, right? To ask him for something, right? Ask him for a favor or help me out here or whatever. She went in with a big ask. And he said, "I hope you brought your knee pads." And she took that as sexual harassment. When my boyfriend goes into his boss and says, hey, I was wondering if you wanted to, look at this, and his boss will say, I hope you brought your knee pads or something along that line, right? My boyfriend was essentially, when he was looking for work for 9 months and not getting any responses at all to his applications, he asked his buddy, like, what do I have to do? Will suck your dick for a job at the top of my resume. It's a way that men express themselves with other men, and she was being treated probably as if she was a man, right? Like, I hope you brought your knee pads, right? Because it's going to require some, you're going to have to convince me to do this for you, right? Women just, there is no way for them to actually think this particular guy would maybe have said this exact same thing in this exact same way to a man who is coming to him with this particular ask, right? They just don't have the ability to do it. No, they just automatically are like, that's sexist and it's harassment and whatever. Like, did you suck his dick? No, you didn't. He made a comment about knee pads because you were asking him for a big fucking favor.
And I just realized something.
What?
I think what motivates a lot of these women is insecurity. Because being a victim gives you power and influence, and you don't actually have to do or risk anything.
Yeah.
But it's like I never felt like I was incapable. I never felt like if I put my mind to something that I wouldn't at least make some progress with it. And I guess that's the mentality she must have, is that my only role in life is to talk about how I've been acted upon by others. Is to be a reflection of others' actions. That is fucking sad.
One of the few things that my boyfriend says about me occasionally that is critical is that I'm arrogant. He says you're so fucking arrogant. I'm like, yeah, so yeah, I am. Like that's okay. I'm arrogant. So what? Did I not earn it? Have I accomplished nothing? Like, am I not capable? Am I not, no, I think maybe, I've always had sort of a little bit of arrogance in terms of like, just my ability to skip 100 classes in a row and still ace the test. Right. And do things like that. Like I just maybe that arrogance is what made it so that I just don't feel like this kind of self
flagellation.
Well, the self concept of being a victim, it just never appealed to me. And the worst times in my life, right? The absolute worst, the ones where, like, okay, I dropped 30 pounds because I just like had no appetite and, my doctor, sent me for chest x-rays because he thought maybe I had cancer and, like my health was really suffering and all of that. Those were the situations where I really had no recourse. I mean, the only recourse in that one particular situation was to break the law, right? I had to actually break the law in order to get out of my situation. That was the only solution. And not wanting to break the law, I was like desperately trying to find some other way out of the situation, and I couldn't find it. And that is the most horrific feeling, right? I actually was sitting in my living room. A friend popped by. She came in, she took one look at the place, one look at me, and she said, if you don't do something about this, I'm actually going to phone your mother, right? And let her know that you're not okay, right? But it's just like that was the cost to me. Losing 30 pounds. Doctor thinks I have cancer, right? Unable to work, unable to eat, unable to sleep, getting bone spurs in my mouth from grinding my teeth at night. That was that's the cost to me of feeling the way this woman seems to want to feel, which she wants to feel like she's not in control of her life. She wants to feel like everything is somebody else's responsibility. She wants to feel like, she has no power, right? That feeling, just for a couple of months, almost freaking killed me.
Yeah. And she wants to feel, and feminism encourages women to feel that way by reducing women down to victims in every conceivable circumstance. And you show me any kind, if I would eat my hat, if you could find me 50% plus 1% of feminism that doesn't do that. Because it has to be at least marginally more feminism that doesn't reduce women down to victims in every single circumstance than does, for it to even be conceivable to regard feminism as not doing it. Yeah. Because all I've ever seen feminists do is reduce women down to victims in every single circumstance. So they are actually advancing a form of looking at gender themselves through their actions. You reduce men down to the agent responsible in every single situation. You reduce women down to simply being acted upon in every single situation. That's what feminists are doing. These are the gender roles that feminists are creating for men and women through their actions, through what they're advocating, and through the fact that if you ever question it, they attempt to ostracize you from society and say that you're totally illegitimate, like they are doing to Milo now. And as Karen was saying, being in that gender role that feminism presents for women, it's awful. And I don't even want to conceive of what it must be like to live in this woman's head for a day. It must be like putting myself in a burqa. In a fucking, not even burqa, like a fucking, what are those things called?
You're in one of
the straight jacket, burqa.
Yeah. You're in one of those like apparatuses that they used at like the crib or whatever that they used in asylums, where you're just like in this box with bars that, And
I can understand where her hatred and anger comes from. But Milo wasn't the one who put you in a fucking iron lady. Lady?
All right.
She wasn't the one who put you in a fucking box.
Agreed. He's actually the one who's offering you a way out.
Yeah. Why the fuck aren't you taking it? Why are you sitting and wallowing there and saying, no, those statistics, I'm going to believe these very questionable statistics that indicate that I am a victim and I need to stay in this fucking iron box in which I'm suffocating slowly. I want to stay here. I don't want to take Milo's ray of light. Milo's opening the iron box and saying, hey, lady, here are some statistics indicating that you don't have to stay in here suffocating. And she's like, get away, you hateful bastard, and slams it shut on herself.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
No, it's like when I was stuck in that situation, I actually described it as feeling like I was in a maze, right? And every single exit, there was somebody there waiting right outside the exit with a baseball bat. And eventually I just kicked a hole in the wall.
Yeah, we need a new word for this. Someone's saying a niqab and an iron maiden. Yeah, it's like an iron niqab. It's an iron burqa.
Yeah.
Milo has invited you to exit your iron burqa, lady.
She kicked a hole in the wall of your maze. He kicked a hole in the wall of your maze, and you don't want to go out.
No, you're just cowering there inside. It's like, I want to be totally constrained and miserable and suffocating on my own inadequacy. I would rather be afraid of rape than embrace statistics that suggest that I don't have anything to fear.
Yeah.
Even though the statistics that suggest I don't have anything to fear are far better, are far more legitimate and reasonable and accurate. Yeah, I would rather stay in my iron burqa.
Yeah, and you know why they're more reasonable and accurate? One of the reasons why is because 80% of the women who say they were victimized in the statistics that you're looking at were like, yeah, no, it just wasn't a big enough deal to report it, right? Obviously, these women are not walking around traumatized by their experience of, their Naomi Wolf experience of some like creepy old guy getting the wrong signals from her because she's like the most touchy-feely woman in the world, and she's so effusive, and she's just so friendly, and she probably touched him like a million times. And then he invited her back to his apartment, and then he put his hand on her leg, and now she has like post-traumatic stress disorder for that because he got the wrong signal from her. And then she just like, you know, I mean, anybody who hasn't read that article, I think it was in Newsweek, of Naomi Wolf's experience with sexual assault, needs to go read it, because it reads like a Harlequin romance. And the only thing, her experience of sexual assault, of sexual violence, right, that she makes such a big deal out of, right, was an old guy who got the wrong, you know, he took her very, 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 very friendly, overly friendly, I'm going to put my arm around you, right, kind of personality, right? He took it the wrong way, and he put his hand on her knee.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Naomi shall, I mean, Jesus, she's going to take that to her grave. She's going to be haunted. And
After,
by the way,
after he invited her to his apartment, alone to his apartment for dinner, right? And so she's alone in his apartment, and he put his, and you know, she's coming to his apartment for dinner. He's thinking, oh, she's interested, right? Puts his hand on her, and she's like praised. He was like her favorite professor. He was like, oh my God, I just admire you so much, and blah, blah, blah. He thought he was going to get laid. You know, he put his hand on her knee. And then all of a sudden she's fucking vomiting and going into like some kind of trauma response. Like, what the fuck, right? This is what feminism cultivates in women. Or she could have just been one of the 80% who was like, oh, it wasn't that big a deal, and just went on with her life.
Yeah. Okay, but Banana, like, seriously, because
Okay,
you wanted this to be under an hour, and it's not going to be.
It's already over an hour, but let's okay, we're moving on.
And at the same time, Rutgers really promotes its diversity, its inclusion, its women gender studies department is one of the strongest in the country, etc. Like, how is Rutgers exactly going to contend with these contradictions? How can Rutgers just sit back and condone this character coming and spewing hate speech? And
it's called free speech, bitch.
It's also called diversity of opinion.
That's what you go to university for.
Intellectual diversity, honey.
Yeah. I mean, I did this rant on students, but at least I know what a fucking university is for. That's the other thing. Students are like, I'm just like, it's ridiculous. Like, how can Rutgers support freedom of expression and a free marketplace of ideas and diversity of opinion when they're all about diversity? It makes me scout. It makes me scout. There's a monster under my bed. It is Milo.
I literally, like, it's, oh God. I'm just like, what has he said that's hate speech? Was it when he called that woman darling?
I
don't know. Big questions. Was darling the hate speech?
No, literally she's saying that the hate speech is the fact. Well, I mean, seriously, lady, if you think Milo saying that, pointing out that there are statistics indicating that you are the safest, you as a white, wealthy white woman, you know, are the safest being on the planet in terms of rape. Not just because you are the least likely to be raped, which is the general situation, for whatever reason. In many cases, when you take age out of the picture, the women we consider the most attractive are actually the most protected from rape.
Yep.
And not only that, you are the most likely to be believed when you are raped, and the most likely to get services when you are raped. You are actually the most privileged potential rape victim on the planet. And I don't mean that to make you feel bad, just to spur you to maybe think about the other people who might be, I don't know, raped by a woman, might be not white, might be not wealthy, might be living, not going to college, you know, might be actually men. I might spur you to think, well, maybe I should stop complaining about my situation. Maybe I should stop complaining about my situation as the most privileged group of potential rape victims on the planet because I am reasonably attractive. Therefore, people will believe me. You also have, I know the chat's going to go nuts, but she is not fat. You know, fat women, when they get raped, who would rape you? Men, when they get raped. Why didn't you enjoy it? You know, these are the things that they hear. They don't get the same resources that you get. They don't get the same protections that you get. and they don't get the same total belief. Because that's the other thing. When you're a reasonably attractive, wealthy white woman, people believe that you would be raped. I mean, fuck, throughout history, they would kill people that you just alleged raped you. They would kill them. They would string them up in mob violence.
Yep.
Throughout history, you've had this privilege of being believed and being served and being protected, and you still have it. So get off your fucking high horse. And the reason why nobody's calling you out is because that exists. It's because you are the fucking queen on your throne, using this privilege that you've always had to make people think that they need to protect you even more. They need to listen to you even more. They need to be concerned about you even more, because they always were. And they were always compelled to be. So you're using an already existing force to just do more of this shit.
Yep.
And the only thing that Milo did was point out that you are actually safer than you say you are.
Yep.
And there are statistics that exist that suggest very strongly that this is so, and they are more valid than the ones that suggest it isn't. And furthermore, because we didn't do a Mary Koss survey on the whole fucking United States, just on college campuses. Whereas the National Intimate Partner Sexual Violence Survey or the National Crime Survey is done throughout the U.S. So you can't say, looking at Mary Koss's numbers, which is where the 1 in 5 and 1 in 4 comes from, you can't actually compare what's happening on college campuses to what's happening outside of college campuses, because no one looked outside of college campuses. But with the National Crime Survey, you can compare, because they looked at both populations, and they found, to no one's fucking surprise, that you are safer than anyone in the fucking U.S. in your age group. And he is bringing this information to you, and you are calling him a monster for it, for showing you reality. That you don't have to live in an iron burqa of fucking fear, lady. I love Milo for that.
Yeah.
I love the people who pointed this shit out for that. Because I don't want to live in an iron burqa of fucking fear. I don't want to live with 3/4 of my life basically gone. Because I have to live in a fucking iron burqa.
Yeah.
But you do. And you just... And you're fucking fucked.
And you love it.
Banana.
And students actually upholding that and promoting that, believing that, spreading that through the campus, teaching other students about that, and just sit back, not do anything about the death threats and the bias reports, and not actually have a stance on what happened, on what freedom of speech and freedom of expression versus, as they call it,
You got a banana.
Okay, what?
I just...
Death threats and blah blah blah. You mean are you talking about the death threats that Milo gets? You know, he doesn't talk about them much because he's not a big fucking baby. So I'm who death threats against who? Right? And did the death threats come before or after you smeared fake blood all over your face? Wondering.
I think we're getting close to the end, so we didn't do too badly on the keeping it to under an hour.
Yeah. Well, okay, moving on.
People are like, "Oh my God, she's so okay." Cat, off. You see, this is why I don't put you in the garage. All right, there you go. Sorry.
Okay.
how can you have diversity as one of your main selling points, particularly within this whole rebranding and the 250th revolutionary Rutgers, and have people like this speak on campus as if they
Because it's diverse.
were this giant celebrity without actually fundamentally.
Okay, banana. We gotta banana this cut shit, because otherwise we get a foul of the laws, the secretive YouTube laws. All right.
I just like how can you have a diversity policy and still allow diversity of opinion?
And again,
How can you have a diversity policy and allow a gay man to speak about his opinion? Like, seriously? You lose both counts, bitch.
Okay, I think we got like 8 seconds left. Let's see if she redeems herself.
In a scientific manner, contending
Okay, I just
Yeah, let's go back.
mentally in a scientific manner.
No, that didn't help. You got to go back further. All right, there. Yeah, okay.
Like this, speak on campus as if they were this giant celebrity without actually fundamentally in a scientific manner contending with the opposing ideas.
Okay, what? Oh my fucking god, what?
Did she just like turn the projector on? I think she turned the projector on because
He comes on to, okay, this is the gist of what she said. And incidentally, I don't think she redeemed herself.
No.
What she said was that he's coming onto a college campus as a big celebrity without having engaged in the opposition in a scientific manner. You have essentially called hate speech him engaging with your position.
yeah.
That's not scientific, lady. Scientific wouldn't be calling someone full of hate speech and wanting to silence them for bringing up inconvenient facts to your narrative.
And if you're going to actually refute a set of statistics, you need to actually understand what those statistics say, right? Which means that he's actually like doing the work. He's the one looking at both sides and forming an opinion, right? You're the one who's like, his opinion is hate speech and it should be banned.
Yeah, she's the one who's categorically excluding aspects of the story and the evidence and the statistics on an issue that she wishes to have complete authority over. So simultaneously, she says, my feels are reals.
Yeah.
But Milo's using his feels and not doing the reals.
Yeah, I know. Even though Milo probably knows more about how her statistics are gathered than she knows about how his statistics are gathered.
Yeah.
And she just doesn't want to hear his point of view. She just doesn't want to hear anything that would take her out of that freaking maze. Where there's a feminist outside every fucking exit with a baseball bat ready to freaking beat the shit out of her and shove her back in. Or with a baseball bat with the word rape on it.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't want out of the maze. And he's literally kicked a hole in one of the walls and said, come on, you can get out this way. Come with me if you want to live, right? And yeah, and she's just like, no, I'd rather stay in here terrified and terrorized. Not even by him, right? But by the people who have convinced her that she needs to be terrified and needs to be terrorized when she really isn't in any significant danger. It's again, I have to point to that 80% of women in that latest survey who said, it just wasn't that important. It just wasn't that big a deal, right? Somebody put their hand on my leg. Somebody put their hand on my ass. A guy tried to take liberties and I got my no across, right? All of those things. Or even the ones who ended up having sex that was defined as rape, because actually in this particular survey, they used affirmative consent as one of the standards. So if she didn't actively, verbally, affirmatively say, yes, 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 right? Then at every escalation, then that was also considered to be rape, right? And these women who took this, survey, right? They were just like, it just wasn't that big a deal, right? Like I was, I rebuffed his advances, right? And then that was the end of it. Or, it really reminds me of that Dear Daddy video that we did a while ago, right? Where the guy's sitting on the couch at the party. She's all drunk. She like climbs into his lap, starts kissing him, pulls his head down, starts kissing him. And then he, goes for third base. And like, that's somehow a crime. Him
Well,
escalating a sexual encounter that she started without his permission, right? Him escalating that's somehow some kind of crime against her. What the fuck? And then she puts her hand.
Sorry, that was a badly timed thing. Yeah, she pulls her hand. Well, I didn't actually get what was going on, what they were trying to do in that particular ad, because the thing was the implication was that he did it just to mock her. Like, he put his hand down her pants just to mock her. No, I think he did it because he was escalating the encounter that you started, because he wanted to move it to more.
The whole problem with that whole scene, and maybe we can link to the video of it, the rant about it in the low bar, I don't know, but the whole thing was she's drunk at a party. She climbs on the guy's lap. She pulls his head down, starts necking with him, right? She's the initiator of the sexual encounter, right? He tries to put his hand down her pants. She stops him, and then he's just like, yeah, no, I'm done with this, right? And kind of puts her off of his lap and gets up and goes somewhere else, right? So essentially, he literally took no for an answer, like took no for the final answer, right? And it might be a little bit of a douchey thing, okay, like maybe if he just, backed off a little bit and then they could cuddle and, blah, 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 and she wouldn't feel rejected. But she rejected his escalation, and he took that rejection as law, right? Okay, we're done here, right? That's the whole point of that, was that he was insensitive or something in how he rejected her, or he only wanted her for sex, or I don't fucking even know. But the entire thing is her initiating a sexual encounter with a guy, and that's all fine, and him escalating and then taking her no for an answer, and he's an asshole.
I can hear
the
Echo.
Yeah,
just
give
give
it
it
a
a
second.
second. You can actually.
I'm just gonna.
There you go. There, that should work. Now that you're no longer presenting, you can mute and unmute yourself. So feel free to do that. I just muted you for convenience.
Do what I want, bitch.
Yeah, I know you always do. So I don't know. Is this it? Like, have we come to the end? I think so.
It's the end of the video, and it's the end of sanity.
Yeah.
It's the end of like making any kind of sense. It might be the end of the Western world.
Yeah, who knows? Possibly. It was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Okay, well, since it's at the end, I shall do a brief shilling.
Okay.
We are starting a promotional fundraiser. You don't have to mute yourself, Karen, because you probably have some stuff to say about this too. Essentially,
I don't. I have nothing. Okay, go ahead.
You're gonna. Never mind. Okay. Well, you come in if you want to. So what we're doing is we're going to be covering 3 events. We're going to be covering Gamergate in Toronto, and while we're in Toronto, we're hoping to hook up with Gregory and Alan Elliott to maybe talk about his side of the equation. But we don't know if that will happen. We're in the process of trying to arrange to meet with him while we're there. Or I'm not going to be there. Karen and our filmmaker Antonio will be there. So we'll cover that, and we'll also be helping out Open Society Gaming at SavePoint, their South by Southwest SavePoint panel, to cover their panel. We don't know what's going to happen with the licensing with South by Southwest. But for now, we're just going to give them. We're actually going to film their panel for them. Give them the footage, and then separately we will be interviewing their guests, including Mercedes Carrera. And finally, we're going to be covering another event put on by Theron Meyer, like the last event that Karen went to. It's Advocacy for Men and Boys at Simon Fraser. It's one of the most successful student organizations for advocacy for men and boys in Canada. So, and we will be talking there, and I believe the subject is what is the future of men's rights? And I'm going to try to work it so that it's a round table with me, Karen, and Hannah, although Theron has expressed a desire to have me do the keynote speech or whatever. So those are the 3 events that we want to be able to cover. Of course, we need travel expenses and also lodging and etc. to be able to go and do these things. And while we're in these particular regions, we will try to meet with people who are interested in meeting with us as well. So if you want to see this stuff covered, and I think it's really essential to cover these events, because otherwise the only people who get to say how they happened and who attended and what was said is the media. So we need to have an archive that men's issues events happened, that Gamergate events happened, that these things happened, so that one day when the media narrative is broken, or actually, I think the archive will help to do that, help to contradict that, and help to make sure that our issues and our concerns don't go into a black hole of emptiness and get forgotten or simply painted as something that they were not by the media in general. And Antonio, as our filmmaker, agrees with me on this particular stance. So if you would like to support us, and if you're a person who has wanted to give a one-time donation this entire time, then please go to www.feedthebadger.com and select the Camera Lights Badger or Lights Camera Badger fundraiser and help us out. There are potential rewards. We're doing it a bit differently this year. We're going to, because of tax reasons, if we give you if you donate $500 and we give you like a $15 T-shirt, we are actually taxed on the $500 as if you had spent $500 for a T-shirt. So what we're doing is the top 25 donors will get a gift, a mystery gift, as it were. And so it's a mystery.
It's a mystery what it'll be. Who knows? It's an enigma, wrapped in mystery, rolled up in a taco shell.
Tacos. Okay. So www.feedthebadger.com.